fat my work and everything. I always did sports, since I was a kid. And one of my favorite sports was skydiving. And because of the adrenaline, so I was just pretty much like adrenaline junkie, going like down the rapids and doing all crazy stuff, you could, imagine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then when I saw MMA, like, even watching, I got, the adrenaline going, like, oh, man, I gotta get, I want to do this. And see, and there's no adrenaline like MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get adrenaline in the room, sparring, and then when you get your fight, you sign a contract, and adrenaline starts right there.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to end just right before you step on that. When you step in the cage or ring, then you're like, okay, this is it. And here we go.
Welcome to the Mark of Men. Through conversations about highs, lows, and everything in between, you'll learn about each guest. But more than anything, you'll learn a little bit about yourself or the men in your life. Today's marksman is Fabiano Pega-Leve Scherner, 13-time World Jiu-Jitsu champion, ex-MMA fighter, and head coach at American Top Team Portland. Today, we explore Fabiano's journey through MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, and coaching. As the father of my home gym, it is a tremendous honor to speak with this living legend. Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. I am Michael Marks, and this is my mark on the world of men. Fabiano Scherner, Master Fabiano Scherner, in the house. So, thank you for joining us. How was your holidays?
They were great. Yeah, I did stuff that I normally like to do in holidays.
Okay.
I like to cook, so.
Oh, do you?
Cooking, yeah.
Okay. What do you cook?
For New Year's Eve, I did a smoked brisket. So, 16-pound smoked brisket.
And you didn't invite anybody?
Huh?
You didn't invite? I can't get an invite? With the brisket?
I was just myself, my wife, and my son. So normally like people, they're all with their families, So
That's a good
by
point.
ourselves we don't invite anyone actually because we just assume that people will be with their own families and stuff. So, but I got. All that.
Nice.
I'm still eating though.
Well, you don't lack for size for sure. The you're as the head of our gym. So currently you're the owner and the head coach at American Top Team Portland.
Correct. Yes.
Before American Top Team, you were the head coach and the owner of Gracie Barra Portland.
Correct.
Okay. I've heard stories about how your journey has gone here in Portland through all the legends from all your students. Mm-hmm. But before Gracie Barra Portland started, how did you end up coming to Portland and then starting gyms here?
Yeah, so I was living in Thailand. That was back in 2007, and so I got a chance, a contract to come to the United States and fight in an international fight league under Team Quest.
Okay.
So, I know if you recall, but there was teams against teams,
Uh-huh.
It was a pretty cool setup, actually it was super nice. And then, once I got the contract, and I had to move, United States, stay here training. And so in the January 31st, 2008, that's when I arrived in Portland with my family. So my wife, my son, he was a little over a year, 5 pieces of luggages, and $150 in my pocket.
Whew, taking a chance.
Yeah.
Now, did you know guys at Team Quest? Did they request you be on their team? Is that how?
No, I mean, I did know them, by name, of course. So my coach, Matt Leland, so we had, the opportunity to train together back in 2005 when I was in American Top Team Olympia, Washington.
Okay.
and he came there with his team. So that night, and then I got to train with him. Also Matt Harwich, and I actually fought a couple of guys from Quest at Sport Fight. Then before I got in UFC, and then I was 2008, so I was out of UFC any contract, and then Matt Lina wanted me to be the heavyweight on his team.
Okay. Oh, that's exciting. Because who else was training at Team Quest at that time?
So many. So Ed Herman, Charleston, and Pat Healy, Ryan Healy, Ryan Schultz. There's so many. I'm not gonna remember the top of me. Josh Bennett as the other heavyweight. I have other Jeremiah Constant. Also a heavyweight. It was a big fight team. I think over 50 pro fighters in there. So I'm not gonna remember all of them on top of my head.
Of course.
And also, like fighters from other places in the United States, they'll drop in. So once in a while, so there's always, a lot of guys in there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to think about it now because. So I'm 37, and in 2005, 2007, the sport wasn't super old at that time. Mm-hmm. So you were among that pioneering class of MMA.
Yeah, when I got in UFC, I think like 6 months after, that's when they put the Ultimate Fighter together. Mm-hmm. And I remember like I was in Holland then. 2006, yes, exactly. So Ed Herman was doing the Ultimate Fighter, and I think that show that's what got UFC to the next level. Uh-huh. I was in a show that also got a lot of attention, was the UFC 60, and that was the first time MMA show was being held at the Staples Centers in LA. So yeah, they never had one before in there. That was the first one, so it was a nice, really good card as well. Myself and Gabriel Gonzaga, you see, like, you're the second fight of the night, so then you can imagine the level of the card. Then it was a huge one. And then I think like after 2005, 2006, that's when the UFC broke that. Like coming from as was. Yeah, UFC wasn't like the biggest one at that time. Mm-hmm. I think Pride was still the biggest one, but then from there UFC took over and became what it is. So.
Right. So you came over here to fight in the IFL, mm-hmm. and you were training at Team Quest at the time.
Yes.
Okay. How long were you at Team Quest?
Until I left. That was in 2014.
Okay, so you were there for a while. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, that's when I decided, to open my own gym, and I want to have just a Jiu-Jitsu gym. Mm-hmm. That's what I did then.
Okay. Now you opened that gym. That was before Gracie Baja.
No, that was Gracie Baja was my first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard stories about Foster Fitness.
Yeah, it was Gracie Baja. We opened inside Foster Fitness.
Oh, okay. So it changed locations in time.
Yeah, and then from Foster Fitness we moved down the road.
Okay.
Foster Road, which became the second location was bigger than the original one. The first one we called it the Dungeon.
Okay, I missed it.
You would have fun in there.
I bet. I mean,
only one door out. You block that way out, like you couldn't get out. So, and it was like a matchbox, a very long one. The mat has like a 20 feet width and 85 feet long. So it was like a long matchbox, and like a lot of people hate those walls, because you corner them in there, like okay. Especially MMA fighters, when they start coming in there, they had a hard time in there,
getting trapped up against the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
What so really, I guess I should have went back a little further, because really your initial passion, granted, I was reading up on you on BJJ Heroes, and you were initially doing Taekwondo,
Correct.
and then you wanted to do MMA.
Yeah, I did Taekwondo until I was 19. I started at 17, and then I moved to a different town in South Brazil. And I was just watching TV. I had this job, in the nighttime as a sub manager in a hotel, and just like off season, so sitting on a hall and watching TV, myself and the other employee, and it just bumped into UFC. And then I was watched like for a week, the first fight I ever watched was Vitor Belfort against Ferrozo, which is, Ferrozo's huge, Vitor was, big, but not as big as Ferrozo, and Vitor just beat, the soul out of that guy. And then they're talking about, Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all this stuff, and then they were talking a lot about Carson Gracie team at the time, it was big. And so I started looking into it, and I just like, I think, I would like to do that. I would like to get in the cage and fight, So I contact my former Taekwondo master in my hometown, and then he's like, well, I have another master from he's near you. I remember like internet, we're talking about 1999 in Brazil. Internet was, dial up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so Google didn't exist yet, so to look for something, it was a different,
you had to know the website back then.
Well, you had a search engine, but it was, it was a different name. I can't recall the name, but you wouldn't find, yet, all this info in there. Like nowadays, you type any name, you'll find it. Right. But yeah, I found him, and then he's like, well, if you want to do MMA, then you have to do jiu-jitsu because, as big as you are and everything is strong, but, like it'll get you to the ground and they're going to eat you alive. So that's when I went, out to look for a jiu-jitsu gym. That's when I started.
Okay. And you found a gym, and there's a famous story. Now, my Brazilian is terrible, but is it Pega-Leve?
Pega-Leve.
Pega-Leve?
Yeah.
And could you tell us a little bit about the story about that?
So I was a purple belt already, and I moved to Rio to join Brazilian Top Team, which is Brazilian Top Team was, founded like a year or two before I moved to Rio by, all the black belts. They left Carson Gracie school, and they opened their own school, Brazilian Top Team. And our school in South Brazil, it was a Carson Gracie school, but once all those black belts left, so then we got, affiliated to Brazilian Top Team. And so I moved in there and training pretty hard. And there was a day where, Big Nogueira came to training, and he was just, 2 hours late. That was kind of normal. Big Nog, like, not a big deal, but Master Libori was running the training that day, and all the pro fighters already left, and I was just training my gi, and he was like, well, Nogueira, told Libori, can you please take it easy with me today? I'm tired and all that, and Libori was pretty pissed off about, have to wait for him, and he had a fight coming up, like in a month or two in Pride. And Libori is like, sure, I'm going to get a guy here to train with you, he's going to take it easy on you. And then he called me, I was like, hey, put the boxing gloves on it, and Nogueira's going to be, on the bottom with the small gloves, but, your job is to, punch him and be on top, and so that was they're doing that day. They call it blocked or blocking, striking from the bottom type of training. And Son Nogueira, that was my first time I was going to actually do MMA training with him. We roll like in no-gi and stuff, but that was my first time. I was doing that, and I got excited because watching him fighting. I just thought the guy was made by iron.
Right.
Like it was a Superman, so I just could do whatever and he'll be fine. And I started like really unloading a lot of big punches and stuff, I didn't have to be in that way, but like I said, I didn't have, yet the acknowledgement, to do a proper training. So I was just like punching as hard as I could. And then in the middle of this, Nogueira goes and tells the boys, "Boy, what the hell's going on here with this guy? I thought he said that he was going to take it easy on me." And the boys, "Yeah, but that's his nickname. Take it easy is his nickname, right?" And that's how it started, So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't take it that easy at our gym either, so it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to get your purple belt?
It was like I was 9 months as a white belt, and then I stayed for a year as a blue belt. About a little under 2 years to get the purple.
Okay. Yeah. And then, because so it only took you an additional, 2 years to get your black belt?
Yeah. So each belt, pretty much I stayed, 1 year.
Okay.
The brown belt that I stayed the longest, I stayed for 13 months on it,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, altogether it was a 3 years, 11 months from no background jiu-jitsu to black belt.
It just made sense for you.
I'll tell you, like I was, I lied my age to my personal trainer. Because I didn't want him to go easy on me. So I told him I was younger, because I started at 26 years old.
Oh.
And then I don't want it, to, like, you're older, gonna go easier. It's like, no, actually, I wanted to, go harder, because I need to compensate the years. I wish I could start, when I was 17 or even younger, but I didn't. So now I had to do like 3 times, 4 times more training than all the other guys. They already, on that thing, and that's what I did, So I got so many competitions, throughout. So my life was pretty much like training, compete,
Okay, so you were competing a lot back then.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, because, at this point, you get your black belt, and then you start bringing in world titles.
Yeah, so my first competition as a black belt, so I was already, then in MMA. Mm-hmm. When I got my black belt, my first competition actually as a black belt was my first MMA fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that happened in Florida. AFC, that show that I think doesn't exist anymore. But and my second competition then in grappling was in 2004 then, when I did the Worlds and I got 3rd place.
Okay.
At the Worlds. Yeah, but we got like that podium was amazing. That day, it's like you look at the podium and it's like, damn, it's like
Yeah.
It was good. And then after that, then I really focused on MMA only.
Mm-hmm.
And I competed in Europe in 2006. I did 2 big no-gi tournaments in there, where I got to win both, and it was super nice. Because now I'm getting my name in Europe as well. And I was living in Holland at that time, so in 2006, before I moved to Thailand. So I left the American Top Team in the end of 2005. Then I went to Holland to work my striking, but I'm still like competing around there, you know. So actually, I did 3 competitions in Europe: one in Holland, one in Belgium, and one in France. And my next competition after that, you know, a big one, then I think was the World's. That was 2010 or 2011. Yeah, I think, or not the Worlds. I think it was the Nationals, if I'm not wrong. That was 2010 when myself and Professor Dylan.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we went there. We both won. He won his as a white belt, you know. Got his blue belt in the podium and everything.
Oh,
so,
that's cool.
You know, that was nice. And I won as well that day. And after that, I competed every year in some big competition, and that's I start, you know, like on the master division, and you know, since that I've been dominated my division, you know,
Yeah.
masters, yeah,
Yeah, because how many world titles do you have now?
13,
13.
Yeah.
And then a second place this last year.
yes,
That was questionable at best. So
it happened, yeah. It was a good match. I think it was all right after, you know, looking back, you know. So yeah, he won. That's not this one.
I watched the match. It was tough. It takes a second for us to filter our own bias because of how much we all love you.
Yeah.
But I can see that.
Yeah, I felt like you know, I told days after, you know, thinking like how my performance, you know, how I did. I wasn't well prepared for that tournament, and yeah, I was afraid to put in a higher gear. You know, every match I did before that, so I was kind of like saving, you know, for the last match, and it wasn't a mistake. Because normally, you know, I like to, like a first or second match, you know, like I really put that second gear where, you know, then you really get going. So, and then on the last match, I couldn't pull the second gear on.
Huh.
You know what I mean? So yeah, and that like you know, worked against me.
That's an interesting. I think I want to dive into that a little deeper. I want to circle back to your MMA career because selfishly, as one of your jiu-jitsu athletes, I have a particular affinity, but for the fighters and for everyone else, I'd like to learn a little bit more, and then we can talk about tournament strategy because I want to talk to you about that because I hit that same wall at Worlds last year. Where I didn't want to hit that second gear. I wanted to be slow and methodical. And because I didn't step it up, he was able to defend long enough to win. And I'm still bitter about that. But your first MMA fight, so you had, because jiu-jitsu was kind of secondary. MMA was the goal. How were you? How did you feel your first fight? How did it go? What do you remember from your first fight?
Yeah, I mean, I started jiu-jitsu because of MMA, right? But then jiu-jitsu became my passion.
Yeah,
and I didn't do any MMA before. You know, I got to the black belt level, and then I got my first fight. And so we're there. The guy was a striker. Could be Mississippi. Could be Wisconsin, you know, so one of those like big, tall, lanky guy, you know, bald-headed, and you know, I look at him, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna crush this guy, you know, and so I got in the ring, and first time, and I can't remember like it really. I didn't hear my coaches, you know. I saw a light above me, and I saw a guy in front of me. And he was very white, so you know that it was easy to find him right under that light. So I was like, okay, I gotta beat this guy. And I go there, you know, start like putting some striking out, you know. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, I'm a fucking striker now, right? And I go for it, and all of a sudden, I just remember I woke up in the middle of some storm of punches on my head. I was like, So the guy knocked me down,
Uh-huh.
and I was unconscious, I guess, but he didn't know, because it seemed like, watching the video after, it seemed like I was going to his legs,
Uh-huh.
and this circle around started punching me in the head, and I woke up. And
Okay.
then I grabbed the first thing, it was around me, it was his leg, then he sprawl. He tried, to sprawl, he kept sprawling, and I kept going like a bulldozer, like to grab both legs, and I was able then to grab both legs, and like a half like of his legs was already out of the ring because it was a ring, it wasn't a cage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I pulled him back like all the way. I lift him, and I went for a takedown. So when I went for the takedown, I was standing on one foot only, and I twisted. And I just heard a pop on my knee. I felt the knee. I didn't hear it, but I felt the pop on my knee. And you went down, but something was, wrong. And I was like, damn, I got to finish this guy down here. If we get back, I don't know. My knee feels weird. And I just like start hammering, doing all that. So they threw the towel. I won. So I went to, go in. I'm happy, but I could barely, go down, down the steps. And now I'm walking, we're in the back, He's like, hey man, can we take a picture? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we're taking a picture. He looks pretty good. I had a hole in my chin when the punch like he knocked me down, right? So I could like blow air through it.
Oh,
The
wow.
hole,
Really?
yeah. My leg was wobbly, my knee was wobbly, and I was like, damn, like the guy's he's all right, and I'm fucked up. Boy, I won the fight. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, yeah.
Oh, man.
That's what my coach said. Like, man, you have blood in your eyes. You can do this stuff. Like, okay.
The feeling of that first victory. How is that? Because you see, guys are happy when they win, but guys, after an MMA fight, you see this level of joy that most people probably can't relate to. Because I don't. How did that feel for you?
It felt really good. But just like in Jiu-Jitsu, I was happy with my results, like winning.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never like enjoying too much because I thought I got work to do for next, right? So, of course, that night, me and my coach, we stopped by the grocery store, and we got a couple of Haagen-Dazs, some cream cheese, which you didn't have any of that in Brazil.
Oh,
Some
okay.
bread. So we made sandwiches in the hotel room, and we ate those with Haagen-Dazs and some beer, So
Nice.
that was cool. But yeah, next day I was already thinking, like I gotta go back, and I stayed for a week in the United States. But I had a couple of friends, in Florida, and they're all doing tournaments that week. So I stayed there for a week, just. And I went back home and I was 40 pounds heavier because I was like, we were stopping Burger King, these places, back then Burger King had those milkshakes, like they're gigantic, so like, I'll get 2 of those and sometimes like 6, with those
Oh, Jesus.
BKs, and it's like, yeah. And they're like, all like, what? So, yeah, I was eating like a, Jesus Christ,
Well, how much did you weigh when you fought?
I was 259.
250. Okay, so you were right at the 260 pounds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the limit was 266, with the pound allowance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your natural walk around weight?
Then it was around there, like 258, So
Okay.
260, yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. And then as time has progressed.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
when I started training jiu-jitsu, I was 360 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. And you were doing Taekwondo at this time? Okay. That's a kick you don't want to take.
No, I got kicked out from 2 tournaments, from Taekwondo tournaments for kicking too hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't have like weight division, and they have only belt divisions. So
So
they'll put me against some, smaller guy, and the guy was, beating me up on points because I can't like throw the same amount of kicks to that guy. So I just kicked as hard as I could, so then I got disqualified.
That's good to know. So
Yeah.
can't take a hard kick.
Taekwondo, it's cute.
It's cute. It is cute. It's hard once you kind of
Yeah.
envelop yourself in this world.
Yeah, I couldn't really use my, strength and everything. That's when, I love jiu-jitsu, because the first tournament, oh yeah, I put all my string out, I was like, damn, I love this thing.
That was actually, I sent you that message thanking you, because one of the things I wanted, and I remember watching the UFC, the very first one when Royce, hosed everybody. Me and my dad were watching it. We watched all the first ones together. And, getting older, and I had some personal things I needed to work through. And one of the things I really wanted was my confidence. I wanted my confidence back, and I wanted to be able to express myself physically without having to hold back all the time, because so often I just have to pull myself back. And then when I finally found, and it was Gracie Baja at the time, but we had just moved to the new building.
Right.
And so I was a day, like the day after, I was going to the old location, and you guys were gone. And I was furious. I was like, are you serious? I just missed it? And then found out it was around the corner. I was like, okay.
Not too far.
Not too far.
Yeah, 2 minutes away.
But getting in there and getting to like, oh, I can fully express myself. I can be as strong as I want to be.
Yeah.
And I don't have to hold back, and I don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah. Even MMA nowadays, that you like, you go like against a smaller guy in sparring, sometimes you got to hold back when you're the bigger guy, right? Mm-hmm. But jiu-jitsu, you don't. Like a small guy they'll be fine with a bigger guy.
Yeah.
So sometimes no another way, but a bigger guy, has to put all his power against, that guy's agility.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too, because like the old video games, you'd have the guy's really fast, but he's not very strong. And then you have the really agile guy, but he's all middling in all these other areas. And they do all those different skills come up. So there's a lot of big guys that I do really well with. And then there's I think he's still a purple belt. His name is Sean. Smaller guy.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time in the world with him. I could tap all these other guys, and then I get to Sean. I'm like, this is so difficult.
Yeah.
But the way he grapples just gives me so many problems.
Yeah.
So when, during your fight career, did you have any fight that was your favorite?
So I started watching, and my favorite, of course, became, Mark Kerr.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a giant. He was a tank. He was a war tank, Like he was like 265 pounds of muscles, right? And then I watched him. Actually, he went to Brazil, and he won this heavyweight tournament, which they take like 3 fights in one night, and he just smashed everyone there. Like, so his nickname actually is Smashing Machine. He got in Brazil. They're good, nicknaming people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that became his nickname, Smashing Machine. And I always, I love his style and everything, the power. And my dream was to fight, someday, we got lined up 3 times to fight against each other, but it didn't happen. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, did they make the documentary about him?
Yes.
Okay, so that was Mark. Woo. Okay. Like, I want to fight that guy.
Yeah.
Damn it, though. That makes sense to
And
me.
then, of course, training with Nogueira, when I started, like he became, I became his biggest fan, I was also his #1 training partner,
Which he was the Pride champion for a while.
Yeah, and some other guys in there, Ricardo Arona, Paulo Filho, Paulo Filho is pound per pound, the best fighter, I think, out of Brazilian top team, so many, and then, but I always liked, like the wrestling background as well, Cain Velasquez, it's like one of my favorites,
Yeah.
Daniel Cormier, style, I liked,
that grind.
Yeah.
I remember I listened to, I think it was Dan Hardy. You remember Dan Hardy? He does his little analysis.
I got to know him in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was cornering some guys in the show that he was fighting one night. Yeah, it was like on his very beginning of his career. Like it was his first, second fight, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got to know each other. Like he was already that red mohawk.
That's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
he talks about that style that you like, that grind cycle. And when I think about that grind cycle, it's like get you up and then just grind you down, and then you spend all this energy getting back up. And one of your fighters, one of your top contender fighters right now, uses a similar style, which is Ricky Simone. So making the transition, so you're fighting. How did you feel about your MMA career by the time you were winding down?
So, my MMA career is I'm a 500 fighter in there, and I finished, being 50-50.
Okay.
I think it's 11 wins, 11 losses, and 3 no contests. But I had to find out. When I first started doing the MMA, I'm sitting there getting fat in my work and everything. I always did sports, since I was a kid. And one of my favorite sports was skydiving. And because of the adrenaline, so I was just pretty much like adrenaline junkie, going like down the rapids and doing all crazy stuff, you could, imagine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then when I saw MMA, like, even watching, I got, the adrenaline going, like, oh, man, I got to get, I want to do this. And see, and there's no adrenaline like MMA. Because you get adrenaline in the room, sparring, and then when you get your fight, you sign a contract, and adrenaline starts right there. And it's going to end just right before you step on that. When you step in the cage or ring, then you're like, okay, this is it. And here we go. So my first idea was like, okay, I need to find, if I can do this, or not, because I will kill myself if I get, to the age where I can't do it anymore. I'm really, really old. And I didn't have the balls to go, check if I could make it or not.
Right.
So that was my first, so I don't want to be that, guys like, oh, I could, drinking beer in the bar. I could do that. And it's like,
no, you did that.
Yeah. So, I found out, and on that path, I found Jiu-Jitsu, which is my first one passion, So I love above every, another martial arts, and is my thing. So that was what I put myself into it, right? So I want to find that answer, right? Whatever outcome, comes out of it, I'll be happy with, because, I need to find out the answer, If I would start earlier, could be better, yes. Maybe could be more beneficial, because my first fight in MMA, I was over 30 already, And then, but that back then that we still like trying to figure out a lot of things, coaches, in teams, training, like if I think back, like we did so many unnecessary training, So,
that's a common theme of that back then.
Yeah.
There was a lot of brutal training.
Yeah, they think like, just do the Rocky Balboa style training, that will be, the way to win. It's like, no, it was way too brutal, the training. Like, fighting was a joke compared to what you'll be, going through on the mats, It was easy. The easy part is, fighting.
All the punishment was done in training, and then the fight.
Yeah, like, years ago, like some reporter, she asked me, like, what do you think about, like, what takes to be an MMA fighter? Like, well, you need to be a masochist and sadistic at the same time. You need to love, to hurt people and feel good about it, but you also need to enjoy the punishment you're gonna take it, So that's your answer right there. And she's like, okay, I can relate that, yeah. But it is, there's no another way, because you're not gonna, become a fighter if you don't, enjoy beating people, and you gotta enjoy, getting beat up too.
Right. Oh, that's a lesson that renews itself every day.
Yeah.
And it's annoying because, you end up with these like, it's hard to explain why I'm not in the gym this week because I tore the tendon on the top of my finger. And the truth is what I want to do is just tape it up and go anyways. But then the finger won't ever straighten again. And it's all these calculations like, well, do I really need my knees? Do I really need my fingers to be straight? I mean, most of the time we're like this anyways. I think I can do it anyways.
Yeah, and it's one finger. I got another 9.
Yeah, I got another 9, This is my bow and arrow hand, so
Yeah.
trying to keep it going. But
Well, my MMA career, I'm happy with, because for what I decide, and how I started and how I did it, I'm okay.
yeah,
But of course, I'm very proud of my grappling career. So,
yeah. Well, your grappling career is phenomenal, and so is your MMA career. I mean, Americans get caught up in this a lot. Is the record? A guy
Yeah.
needing to have a perfect record, but to get out there because you fought over 20 times.
20, 25 times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. That's another reason why I kind of wanted to do this is because I don't like average people really don't have an appreciation for what it takes to fight other people for a living as a profession. People, they're accountants right now that get up and go to work every day and work on their numbers and then go back home. And then there's people who fight people for a living, right? And you're taking damage and you're giving it and you're training and you're going through this growth. And one of the things I've really admired and the things that's exciting about getting to train with you and Ed, is that I remember, because I watched MMA as a kid when the UFC first started. And then as I got older, I actually gravitated to Pride. And so I was watching a lot of those guys. I remember Ricardo Arona. I remember Rampage fighting. I remember Fedor Emelianenko. I remember watching Big Nog, Big and Little Nog fighting, and just watching the Gracies fight over there as well. And as the years have progressed and as I watch the sport now, I have such an admiration for what you guys achieved because young fighters know how to get off the cage.
Yeah.
Guys would get stuck there. So how was that process, learning how to fight in a cage? Because you guys did a lot of the work, so now you have young fighters doing things correctly that, that was it was the complete unknown back then.
Yeah. Before I answer that question, I want to just you said something about the record, right?
Yeah.
That is pretty much everywhere in the world, right? Brazil, Europe. I only know one place in the world they don't really give much F's about the record. That's Japan.
Really?
They like the show, the spectacle. I'm saying that right?
Yeah.
And they respect fighters there like they're semi-gods, So to them, the record doesn't really matter as much. So on your question, it's like, I remember, back then, like we were horrified, about being down against the cage, that's like someone like beating, the heels out of you, the wheels out of you. And you just get stuck in there and the fight will be that, right? Over. And throughout the years, and I remember like, guys at Brazilian Top Team, they were, training in the ring. They'll like prefer, to fight Pride because it's a ring, and everything. And they'll let actually, the fights go on the ground, like if the guy on top was stalling, it was the bottom guy's job, to get out of there, Nowadays, of course, the referee helps, like, it's boring, like, get up, right? Pride never, a few times maybe they did that. If the guy on top was too tired, and some stuff like that. But then the cage, people start, like using the wall actually on their side. Nowadays, like to keep someone down against the cage is very difficult.
Right.
And I remember then, like every fighter, wants to bring their opponent, against the cage, take him down and pin him against, that corner there and keep them there, right? They didn't want to be in the middle because, if you have like really good jiu-jitsu, you could get a sweep, it was easier, to get a submission because there's no wall, to get stuck on it and everything. I mean, those difficulties still there, but if you think about it, what's going on nowadays with, the MMA fighters, they know how to get up against the wall. They do a really good job in there, against stuck because they learn, how to use the wall as a tool. When is the last time you saw someone sweeping someone on the middle of the cage? Can you recall?
No.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Because they don't barely train that anymore. You don't see like, grapplers sweeping people because they learned that and they left that.
Okay.
Now, when I get my fighters, like nowadays, like pull them off the wall. And then those guys are stuck down there because they don't know how to work a sweep anymore.
This is fascinating because I thought, I wasn't sure if, I didn't understand why I didn't see guys in MMA using more sweeps. They're either down there, they're just holding themselves there, or they're trying to get to the cage so they can get up. And I know that some of the narrative around MMA right now is that like wrestling is the dominant art that you should have when you're going into MMA. Do you think it's just that there are waves of techniques that come in and out of vogue in the sport? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that in MMA? Jiu-Jitsu throughout the years, the same thing.
Okay.
When I started, in Jiu-Jitsu, it was Saul Ribeiro dominating, there is some guys, and they have, a specific game, take these guys down, be on top, pass the guard, mount, tap. And then around 2001, that's when, Fernando Margarita came with an entire new game. And he was just beating everyone, He beat everyone, became a world champion, His grappling was amazing. It was fluid. He would flow strong at the same time, but he would like flow and put speed on it, and then that like a majority of the guys, they will gassed out with him. Right? And he would work, and get up as well from the bottom, not only sweeps, if it wouldn't work. So all of that was innovating. And he won for a while. And then came to the scene Roger Gracie with a very basic jiu-jitsu, right?
Right.
And he dominated for years. And there came Buchecha, with innovative again. He was like a Margarita, but more complete, even more complete because he got better in wrestling. He was just as good top or bottom, no matter where you go with him, like he was just amazing. Right? And then after, Buchecha, then you get those even newer guys, I can't even recall the names nowadays, but I think one of them was just killed in Brazil, Leandro.
Yeah, Leandro
was
Lo.
really good, yeah. But we still have Felipe Peña, all these guys, And nowadays, in the no-gi, you got guys like Gordon Ryan,
Right.
Yeah, he's, he was right there with the best ones, grapplers, In the no-gi, yeah, he might be the best in all times, but it's hard to call because, Arona was really good too. Then beating everyone, he was the reigning king, for ADCC for over a decade, pretty much. Nobody could beat him.
Oh, Ricardo Arona?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he left, ADCC. I don't think he ever got a loss in there.
Okay.
And he started as a brown belt in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he won, weight division and open weight on his very first time. And after that, then
I'll go back and watch some Ricardo Arona matches because I knew he was excellent at jiu-jitsu, but I only saw him in MMA.
He had a good wrestling too, Watch him against Ricardo Almeida.
Okay.
One of the most impressive matches in all time.
I'll do that because I know where I'm at right now. So you just gave me my purple belt, and I find myself. I don't think I fully. I don't think I've settled yet into my game. So like I'm like trying to learn everything until I find my game, and then it's like, do I need to study that? Do I need to study this? Do I need to practice leg locks? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And then it's a little. I'm kind of in the eyes wide open stage. So it's like, oh, are we learning this? Why there's this thing out here? And it's like, but just staying.
Yeah, I believe like the jiu-jitsu and MMA, it kind of circles.
Okay.
Right. So let's say for 5 to 10 years, there will be a dominant style. And then there will be a style that if you remember, jiu-jitsu dominated in the beginning for years. Then wrestlers came, and then a good striker wrestling defense dominated for years. And then grapplers came again, and then wrestlers came and dominated. Nowadays, yeah, is the studying the game, what works, what doesn't, and it just go around, it's like pretty much a dog chasing his tail, but at some point,
every art gets a time to shine.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Dagestanis,
if you see right now, it's true. I think Brazilians, they have 6 belts in UFC nowadays, and the Russians had the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, you have heavyweight is Francis Ngannou.
He's French.
Light heavyweight is vacant at the moment, but Glover pulled it off right before he lost it to Yuri Prohaska. At middleweight is now Pereira.
Yeah, Brazilian.
Mm-hmm. So he's a Brazilian. Yeah. Then at welterweight, it's Leon Edwards, a British man. Then 155, Dagestan took that belt. 145 is Volkanovski.
Yeah.
And that's like Adesanya, was it New Zealand or Australian strikers?
New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, and then underneath that...
135 is American.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So 135 champion is right now is Aljamain, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And who's it 125?
It is Figueiredo,
yeah, Brazilian. Yeah. And then, I can recall all the females as well, on it. But at least on the males, that's, I think, and it's just about time. I was asked the same question last week in an interview to a Brazilian, podcast, and they asked me, like, so what do you think? It was like, Americans are not dominating. Brazil is like, yeah, but, not long ago, Brazil didn't have any.
Right.
There was a time when Anderson Silva was a champion, and we got like 5 belts or 6 belts as well. And then, they all got crushed,
Mm-hmm.
Then Americans, they're like a champion on every single one, and then comes, and it goes like that,
Right.
So, but I think the question, like they asked me as well, was, how to beat, Dagestanis,
Mm-hmm.
well, they're doing good now, yeah, but there'll be a way, like to beat them. It's just like, get used to that, what really impresses me is their performance being so overwhelming.
Right.
How can a human being, perform, like a 10 to 15, 20% more than another human being, like doing the same sport? That's not normal.
Uh-huh.
So because if you're performing like 2 to 5% more than your opponent, that's huge.
Right.
That's huge.
And they're doing...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing a lot better than that. So they're doing something that's working out for them, I know they're training like on the mountains that's like, like 20,000 feet over the sea level.
Right.
It's something,
Yeah, because they're in tremendous shape, and it's
strength.
Yeah.
Like there's no fighters can match their strength,
No.
Like,
It's interesting. And they got that Olympic wrestling, and it's a different type of wrestling
Yes.
that they use. So it's fascinating.
It's even more grinding than, like
Yeah.
years ago. It's like, damn, that's like, it's more than grinding. They're like,
Yeah, it's
tenderizing meat.
I think about them, and because Russia has such an intimate relationship with suffering, and that whole region is just kind of steeped in it. And I remember watching Habib fight Michael Johnson, and when he fought Edson Barbosa, and you saw them. Almost like when you see like a bully beat someone down and the other person's just in shock at what's happening. It's like, what's going on? And he's just pounding him, telling him like, you need to give up.
Yeah.
You need to give up.
Exactly. They make, they make guys give up. I was in a corner, one of the fighters I remember, and then Khabib has one of his teammates, fighting on a PFL. That was years ago. And they're in the same room, training and stuff. And I witnessed like he got 5 different guys, and he went through those 5-minute guys, different guys, for 90 minutes, non-stop. I maybe he tapped someone. I didn't notice because I couldn't obviously watch the entire time. But he made every single one give up.
And how long?
The guy that lasted the most, it was around like 15 to 20 minutes before the guy like, okay, and then a fresh guy coming in, and you'll meet everyone. And that was before McGregor's fight,
Uh-huh.
And I remember like the Russians, they put something out there like Chael Sonnen's coach, because I told Chael about it, and Chael put it out there. And
I saw the video.
And they like Chael's coach is not impressed with Khabib, grappling. I was like, they got it all twisted, because I was impressed like how he could make people give up without even throwing submissions,
Uh-huh.
And if you watch the fight, like McGregor, he gave up, like he gave up his neck, I was like, okay, just finish this. I'm done,
Yeah. So you said 90 minutes?
90 minutes, yeah.
He grappled for 90 minutes straight.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
He's a fresh guy. Every time one will get tired, like fresh one will jump in.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Now that you're in this role, right? Because you're head coach, all of us, absolutely all of us, look up to you, and especially the generation that came before us. So like when I started, you had Manny and you had Jay and Lance and you Brent Premise and all these guys, but there's a level of reverence that they all have for you and respect for you. And now that you're the head coach of American Top Team Portland, when you're looking for fighters, what are the qualities that you're looking for?
Every fighter has something different than the other, right? Mm-hmm. I think the most important, what I'm looking for is that they understand what it takes. That's a hard conception to understand, because what you're gonna do is not an easy thing, and is a hard work. If you're not, like in that mood, let's say, mm-hmm. mindset. Yeah, okay, I was looking for the word. If you're not in that mindset where you need to, hey, you got like a really beautiful girl, once you go on a date, the same time that, like you should be in the gym training, and you pick the girl, mm-hmm. yeah, you're not ready.
Right.
Unfortunately, you got to put above everything.
It's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when I say hard work, it's like make that your job. Mm-hmm. It's fun. MMA, you don't want to feel like it's a job, but you still, like any other job that you enjoy to do it, but it's still a job.
Right.
Right? You're doing a job right here. Mm-hmm. Enjoy it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. You love it. Yeah. But still a job.
Still a job.
So you have to be here interviewing me, right? So like it or not,
right?
you have to
show up and do it.
Yeah, exactly, right? and they don't understand sometimes, and I think things that worked, throughout the years, like back then we only had, the coach, like, the coach, will say like we get everything done, if they did mistakes, yeah, they did, but they're humans, and they also figure out a lot of shit,
Right.
for what we have nowadays.
Right.
Nowadays, people in 20 years are going to be like, oh, you're from back then, right? Oh, you did so many shit wrong then.
Right.
Talk about now. What's going to be in the future, right? So what I'm trying to say is, the internet is here nowadays, and you get, these guys come to the gym, and they, like, okay, I figured this out, you want to coach them, and sometimes they're like, oh, I got it, I was like, yeah, you can have all the things, helping out, go ahead, watch fights, watch techniques, watch everything. You still need a coach,
Right.
It's just like, like a doctor, he can help you in a video call and everything, but in the end of the day, he got to be face to face. He got to, put his hands on you to check what the hell's going on, right?
Right.
So fighters still like need that coach, to guide them. And that's nowadays, like, is a lot of these guys, they fall off the wagon a lot of times because they are, looking to stuff, and that's not exactly like why, our gym is doing that way, like, well, we're doing, on this way is working out. This is, it's not going to work out for everyone, but it's working out for for quite a few people, and they don't like it. They leave, right? Or they find out, like the process is a lot harder, because be honest, anyone can throw a punch, right?
Yeah.
Like my mom, she's almost 80. She can throw a punch at someone, but can you take a punch,
Right.
and it's still going? Because the person you're going to go against, know just as much or more than you do, and how, like, yeah, you're not going to punch that person one time and they're like, oh, yeah, no, yeah, I'm out of here. No, I don't want to get punched again. But they're going to fight.
Right.
So they have this hard time, this new generation, like they have more information available. They're doing a lot better, on diet, right? Taking care of their bodies. They understand, like the amount of training you got to put, like 2 times more recovering, and rest. Because the most important part is to rest. That's when your body is recovering. If their body doesn't recover, it's not going to be able to put in another session next day.
Right.
They're doing better on those ways. A lot of information. There are a lot of new techniques, to help, like recovering muscles, and everything. The medicine, is better, more modern nowadays, So that's helping. But like I think the guy that I like to work with is that one, will let me do my work.
And trust you with their.
Yes, and is a it's not that he'll have to do like everything I say, because I need to get to know that person, like it takes a while, it takes a year or two sometimes, or even more to really get to know that. Like, when Ricky came to me, for example, we didn't have, like, he came from another gym, and then, now I'm coaching him and thing. So we got like several fights, to the point to where, if he raises his eyebrows, I know what he's saying. He doesn't have to say in words. Just like the way he's going to look at me, I can tell he is approving my decision or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the kind of relationship, you get from the coach, and fighter, and it helps a lot in the fight, right?
That trust.
I'll give you an example. Like, he was in Australia fighting, a Brazilian, and our game plan is not like, hey, we're not going to kick this guy. We don't want him to catch your kick, and, get you on your back, because he was too talented, as a grappler. He was the best grappler in his division at that time. And between the second and the third corner round, Ricky was winning pretty fair. And then, we got excited. It's like, hey, okay, go out there, do what you've been doing. You're doing excellent game plan. He just like put the game plan as we train, and it's really good doing that. And right before I was going to leave the corner, and so and I think you can put some kicks in there now. And he raises, eyebrows, look at me, and he was saying no,
Right.
but not in the words, just the way he looked. And then I touched his shoulders, like, but if you don't have to, you don't have to, So if you don't want to, you don't have to. And, he just kept, the same game plan, like I was trying to give him a little bit more freedom, It's like, no. And I read that on his face. Then gave me time, to tell, okay, don't go for it.
Right. Well, it's so interesting because, you guys can see what's happening and he can feel it. And that communication between the two of you in the heat of battle is really important. It's cool to watch your relationship with the fighters. How many fights a year are you coaching?
That is a question I'm not going to have the answer for you.
Okay.
I don't keep tracking, but I spend more time, like I spend more weekends, away from home than at home.
Yeah, I thought so. Because every other week I'm looking on the TV and like, oh, there's Bob. There's to call my dad. Hey, take a look. This is one of our guys.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
It was worst when we were in the second location, and the first 2 years we opened a new location. I was pretty much by myself.
Oh.
Yeah, nowadays, I have Coach Ed, Coach Dylan, Coach Mike Pierce, for the MMA. And obviously, Ian King, Jordan, and a lot of helpers. So I don't have to travel as much. Still like a good amount of travel, but, not as much like those years. There was a time where, in a weekend, like Gracie Barra was, like we're all over the place around here in the regional scenario. And I was going with, the big fights, and then we have like 4 different locations, Even Ricky Simon was cornering people. Then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I have not enough staff,
right?
To do that. So I have to send, Ricky to Middle East, to corner Tyree.
Okay.
Yeah. And see, like Ricky was like 22 years old or 23, I think, somewhere around there. So he's very young, but that's how we did it, like helping each other.
Right.
That's like the appreciation I have, for the guys. They started back then, and we kept that, core. It was a small core. Now it's a way bigger core.
Yeah.
But it's still a core.
Right.
So I know those guys, they'll never leave.
Right.
So, and they're there, to help. So that was one thing. The culture in our gym, and how you help each other, not only in the gym but outside the gym. Like guys, they work somewhere, and then this kid, knocks at the gym's door, starts training, doesn't have a job.
Right.
One of our guys, goes like, okay, I got a job for you.
Right.
And we go in that way. I think that's just priceless. Because is a family, but a family of your choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel that every day I go in there. I fell in love with the gym when I got there, and then those relationships. And again, one of the things, and I've mentioned this to a few different people, not all of us get a lot of time with you because you're busy. You're busy, but the thing is, and I encourage anybody listening to this, especially if you train with us, to remember, even if we don't get to spend a lot of time with you, we get the love from everybody that you trained. We get a piece of you from them.
My footprint is there.
Yeah. It's always there, and it permeates the entire gym and the culture of American Top Team, and I've fully embraced it. So that family that we've chosen, it's a special thing. Words can't describe how valuable it is.
I talk a lot to my business partner Brennan. He's a huge part. Like what we became.
Big shout out to Brandon Miller.
Yeah, I don't think we would be this big. If if I wouldn't take him on board, be my partner in business. Because I would be able to handle. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to handle business. I want to, coach. So, it's interesting because I started when I was 8 years old playing basketball in school. Mm-hmm. And I did volleyball, handball, and track and field, right? So the concept of a team, I learned that since the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about the individual sport, which is like Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. But if you don't have a team, you're screwed.
Right.
So I think that and coaches they come from like the team concept. Like football coaches. They're really good coaches. Because you gotta keep it together.
Right.
And I think like one of the reasons that we are like we are, because of my conception of a team effort, mm-hmm. to get that person, to reach that. Yeah, it's like it's like a tribe. You have your best warriors in there, and you're gonna send them out, to the war. Like mm-hmm. They're not gonna if there's training by themselves,
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same kind of thing that. Everyone needs that structure. How are you gonna become a champion if you beat up on bags, and
right.
dummies and stuff? You don't have another human being, mm-hmm. like pushing you,
right.
make you a better fighter, better person.
And another human being that's been taught properly because you went through that time before when you guys were beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah, that was if you go back in time, like you said, you're gonna watch more stuff. Brazilian Top Team in shoot box, they're the biggest teams in the world.
Yeah,
when I was there.
Well, Vanderlei, Shogun was Shogun a shoot the box?
Shoot box, yeah.
Yeah, Shogun and Ninja as well.
Yeah, and they have Pelé and they have some other guys. I think Brazilian Top Team was a little bigger, but they were, that competition, make them both, Mm-hmm. Shootbox was a different concept of a team, like we're grapplers, they're like strikers, murderers. So it was like so that, background, the breed, how I was bred, I became like I am. You see, like to me, it's difficult to train, like kids classes, for example. Mm-hmm. I think I'm too rough as a coach. Mm. When I started coaching, years ago, I was way different than I am nowadays. With the years experience,
right.
It really it got me softer, or more understandable, So and like a respect, not everyone wants to be an athlete.
Right.
Not everyone wants to be, a killer fighter. So, but if you ask me like as a coach where I perform better as a coach is training people who are, after something as an athlete. Uh-huh. Because I was like that.
Right. I do notice the difference too. Because there are those of us that I try to train a minimum of 3 to 4 times a week. And I have friends that train at our gym, but there's just there's a difference, right? It's a business, and there are people that are there for these personal growth and winning reasons, and then you have people that are there to do jiu-jitsu.
A hobby.
Hobbyist, and it's nice that they can still train, but there is a difference. Yeah. And you are,
there's the guys as well. They're a little bit of both. Like you.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
like. you since the beginning, never went easy.
Yeah.
Like we roll, like yeah, you can brag about it. Like the coach is putting his best against me because I'm not gonna give you, easy time.
Yeah, that was a particularly. By the way, thank you.
It's a
Because
compliment. Yes.
since I started, you guys always gave me the toughest guys, and sometimes I'd get like ex NFL guys, and it'd be like, "Cool, let's beat his ass. Let's see what's up."
You guys double your size.
Double my size, and you guys are like, "All right, well, Mike, he's wrecking people. Take care of this."
Well, I'm happy. You more than deserve the purple belt. But then said at the same time because my enforcer, my blue belt enforcer is going to purple, But you're gonna become the same on the purple. You're ready to do that role again as a purple belt. Like every time like you get some like a dude, like a think his stuff, like a purple brown belt. Hey, you go roll with Mark right there. It's like,
Thank you.
It's gonna make you change your mind about your belt color.
That means you have no idea how much that means to me. I might message you later because I know we're doing the certificates, and I was wondering if I could get like a blue belt mat enforcer certificate because that was a role I really enjoyed filling for the gym.
We can work on that.
I'd appreciate it because I did take a lot of pride in one, what you guys have given me. And then two, that you'd give me the responsibility of checking people that came in with a little too much gusto.
Yeah.
Like, let me
And every time a blue belt like is like, I'm ready to be a purple. And like, I want you to roll with Michael. Let's see. How ready are you?
Oh, that's awesome. Fabiano.
I'll tell you like you broke a lot of people's dreams in there.
Oh, you think so?
I'm ready to get my purple. Like, go roll the mics in there.
That is good to know, and I was happy to be of service. Professor, master now.
And like you're the kind of guy, like you're gonna be the one getting the least of compliments from the coaches, right?
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes none, zero.
Yeah, that's okay.
You remember last time we roll?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Sepp and Pastor Gurr, right?
Yeah.
And then you're there and it's like, you did good.
Yeah.
And I know, like in the back of your head, it's like, you did good. Like, you didn't tap me. What are you talking about? But that's what we make you like,
Yeah.
Because I was in your shoes.
Yeah.
Right? So I was, remember being at BTT, first time I went there as a blue belt, but when I moved, I was a purple. Then, I was like, get this guys, like, hey, go roll take it easy right there, And, I was enforcer, mat enforcer.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to carry that legacy forward because I'll take it easy on everybody you give me. So, and Fabiano, I can't
take it easy.
Yeah, definitely take it easy. I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I look forward to doing more of these with you, and I'll talk to you about some ideas because I think that it'll be fun to continue to siphon off some of your knowledge because everybody loves you.
And it's so much to talk about it, like training, training techniques, how, or coaching techniques to get guys better, the difference because I'll tell you, like I have almost 400 different people inside the gym, and every single one has a particularity, right?
Yeah.
Saying they're correct.
Yeah.
Okay. The accent is not messing up.
That's okay. You're good.
It's okay. One day you're gonna speak my English, Mark.
Oh, I'll get better. I'll get better, and we'll do that because we do the physical expression of jiu-jitsu in the gym, and for people to actually get to hear you talk about it and talk about how to get better and how to train, I think will be of immense value to myself and everybody else. So I can't thank you enough. It's been an absolute treasure having you here with me today.
My pleasure. I was like, I watch other, guys in here, and then, I was like, I'd like to get invited, and then finally, like, okay, I'm gonna invite myself.
Yeah, hey, like everything, I wanted to I wanted to do the conversation with you justice because you deserve it.
Yeah, I like to tell the story. My wife is tired of hearing the same stories for 20 years.
Mine too.
So you gotta find new people ready to listen to your old shit.
Oh yeah. Well, you have a ready audience, Professor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, that was fun.
I think so.
Oh.